Hello students, we are back for Geology lesson number 26. 26. And Brutus has joined us. And today we're going to continue talking about mining. So mining is the process of extracting natural resources from the earth to make the materials that we use. Do you know what the world's number one toxic polluter is?
Hello?
It is actually mining. So the process of mining is really the largest producer of toxic chemicals on Earth. And if we just take the example of steel, which we can see this, Brutus is his play stand, but his cage outside is made of steel.
Steel is the world's most important engineering and construction material. It is actually an alloy of carbon and iron. And an alloy is a mixture of metals, and the mixture increases the strength of the metal, and it also reduces the ability to corrode. Stainless steel is made when you add nickel and chromium to steel so it doesn't rust. And steel is used in about everything, or used to make about everything. From construction to cars to appliances, steel is everywhere.
For every ton of steel produced, woo! There is 80 tons of toxic water. Heavy metals, not heavy metal like woo. Not like Metallica. No, not that heavy metal. We're talking about heavy chemical metals. So, in other words, metals that have a very high atomic number. They're big, such as mercury, lead, and arsenic. So these are chemicals that are found in the wastewater of steel production. So steel also produces a lot of air pollution in the form of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, woo, is one of the greenhouse gases. In other words, it's one of the gases that gets trapped in the Earth's atmosphere and heats up the Earth. Now we need some of this greenhouse effect, otherwise we wouldn't be able to live. All right, but when we get too much of it, it traps around the Earth, causes climate change. So steel is, the production of steel is the most carbon dioxide emitting and energy using industry in the world. So, and steel production is done all over the world. In fact, there isn't really much that is not made without using steel of some form. So the world produces enough steel to actually make an Eiffel Tower every 3 minutes. So if you think of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, well, here it is, look at the Eiffel Tower. That thing could be made every 3 minutes with the amount of steel we produce in the world. Where do we get steel? Well, this is made of steel, well, and aluminum. Where does it come from? We get it in the ore magnetite. So magnetite is iron ore. 95% of that iron ore is used to make steel. 95% of that iron ore extracted from the earth is used to make steel. And in the mining process, so when they mine for iron ore, it produces a lot of air pollution, such as nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, like I talked about, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. And these are produced from the diesel generators that they use to extract the iron ore. So for every ton of steel made, 2 tons of carbon dioxide are made. And remember, I talked about carbon dioxide being a greenhouse gas that leads to global warming and climate change. Steel is something that the world really depends on because it's used for about everything, or it makes up about everything. 3/4 of the energy to make steel actually comes from coal. So to make steel, we have to use coal. So we're actually, to make steel, we're also using another non-renewable natural resource called coal. It's interesting though, in the last 10 years, our steel production in the world has actually doubled. So we're actually producing even more steel than we were. In the California Iron Mountain Mine, that is mined for iron ore to make steel, the water runoff, so if it rains, the water that drains past that mine is actually shown to be 10,000 times more acidic than battery acid. So battery acid is one of the most acidic chemicals there is. And they actually stopped using the mine in the 60s, but it is still using, or it's still producing this acidic runoff. And they say that that could go on for thousands of years even after the mine has shut down. So even though a mine is shut down, it still can produce pollution. Mining also uses a lot of fresh water in the process. So not only is it polluting water that it is using, but it's also depleting the natural resource of fresh water. So I want you to think about what could be an alternative to, for example, mining for iron ore. Think about how could we reduce our dependence on the production of steel. So it's something to think about. The whole purpose of this is to get you to think, consume less, spend less, appreciate nature, find your inner nature nerd, or find your outer nature nerd. Find a nerd, just find yourself. That's what it's all about. And the more you know, the more educated you are about where all of our materials come from, the more prepared you'll be to make decisions that can affect your future, the future of the planet, the future of all species on the planet. So rock on, rock stars. I love you. Find your inner nature nerd. Woo!